And we are live. We're doing the live dance. I can't dance too much because I'm on my bed right now and something might fall over. Here we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 16 of the Water Wisdom Podcast. I have the absolutely amazing, magical queen with me, Leela Rose. Is who she is, of Quantum Play Academy. And I can tell you, I'm totally feeling the playful vibes. So this is going to be a really interesting episode. We're just going to go with the flow like never before. And I'm so excited to share the magic, the unique magic of Leela Rose with you. Welcome, Leela.
Hi.
Are you freaked out? Excited?
Yeah, but I'm trying to
Both?
look cool.
Yeah. Calm, cool, and collected. Get your water, everyone. Get your tea. Let's do our usual. Connect with your water. And we're setting the intention that all of the highest frequency, highest timeline codes move into our water. Code our bodies with exactly what we need right now. Perfect integration. Perfect experience that you get exactly what you need out of this podcast today. So, Nastrovia, it's Polish for, I think, cheers. I think. Take a drink, everyone. Okay, here we go. Now, before we get into it, full disclaimer, I'm a little bit out in left field here. Sweet Nadia was up sick all night last night. She is doing better, but I was up with her. So I'm kind of half here, half not. I'm sitting on my bed doing this. My microphone might fall over, computer might take a nosedive. I don't know. We'll just go with the flow and laugh at it if it happens, but that's my upfront disclaimer. Okay, so let's move into this. Let's have some fun with Leela. So,
first of all, I love your setup. Looks like you're in this cave, kind of like wanders.
Thank you. I like it. We're both in the blue. We're both swimming in the waters of creation today.
Water wisdom. Duh.
Yeah, duh. Okay, so Leela, let's dive in.
Okay.
Tell us about your unique gift to the world. Tell us a little bit about you. Who is Leela and what does she bring to the world? Big question.
So Leela Rose, she is quite a paradox because in one way she is very committed. I'm talking about myself in third person. Never did this before, but it seems right.
I like it.
She is very, very passionate about making the remembrance process more playful for humans, for it not to be so serious. And on the other hand, there is a lot of death and rebirth and heaviness that can come along with it. So it's kind of like a long, like a very extreme cave of the darkest dark and rainbows and butterflies. So her intention, my intention, is to hold people's hands as they are adventuring into this predestined remembrance process and bringing back their soul into their body and healing from this kind of like amnesia that some people have, and I went through for sure, and I'm still going through. Make it more playful, make it more enjoyable, turn it into an adventure with the depth. So yeah, kind of taking the depth and adventure hand in hand and creating experiences for people to enjoy the process.
I love it. I found you on Instagram through a friend over a year ago. And what I love about the uniqueness of what you bring to the world is the playfulness. And isn't that the key? Isn't that inner child the key to the deepest, most expansive experience? It's like the opening, because in my experience, I feel like this world, and I think many of you can identify with this, that this world wants to put us in a box, right? And wants to have us be very serious and constricted. And so share with us what happens for the physical vessel and the energetic field when you actually open up and start to be playful? Why is that so important in the process?
Mm, I love that question. It's very deep. So, what happens is it kind of everything that feels like a prison or like a cage or like density turns into this fabric of pure possibility. So, an example is if I'm sitting and I'm feeling like boxed by society or within my own patterns, and I just sit and get into that playfulness, I'll literally begin seeing without any medicine or anything how my willingness to play with how I'm seeing things in the room will start like dancing in front of me, like a plasmic kaleidoscope. So I feel like it's very natural for us to be able to play with to that extent as multidimensional children of this in this earth together. So it kind of turns into any prison experience. I like saying prison to prism. So anything that feels like a prison, like a box, like a square, like a cage, turns into this prism that's reflecting light in different ways and bringing in different possibilities of color, like a color palette of experience.
I love
Ah,
that.
that
I
makes
love
sense. I hope
Yeah,
that makes
it
okay.
does. It really does make sense. I love that.
Mm,
So this takes me then to your experience with the awakening process. And so I'm curious that what I have witnessed with many people that I follow is that their superpower now is something that really was their prison before.
mm,
For instance, those who I follow who are doing so well with, like money activations and helping people really break out of the constriction of, what money means for us based on the old stories of our families, that their prison was money before, and
mm.
that your biggest pain is actually your greatest liberation. So the way that I see you now being so playful and so fun, but yet so grounded and just really genius in the way that you bring through a meditation and hold the space for your community. I'm curious then about, have you always been this playful? Was this leaning into inner child healing? Was this like a part of your awakening journey? What can you share with us around that?
Oh, I love your questions. I
Thank
love
you.
how you relate. It's really beautiful and it feels like a deep deepening.
Thank you.
So, it's interesting because when my family says I was like a clown baby, that I would like within all the chaos, I'd make a silly face or I'd like hold a bunch of bags and like I was born into a family that was already set and they were all grown up and I was kind of like this little thing that popped along. So I was born into like a very, very dark reality. Like I remember as a child just thinking, oh my God, this dimension is so dark and scary and weird. And everybody, like all the adults around me, looked like they were miserable and that they were crazy, actually. Like it was like, what don't they know? Like forgiveness and anything's possible. And so I kind of fell into a depression when I was like, I understood what depression is by the time I was 9. And I remember the moment where I'm like, I get it. Now I know what depression is. Like, I know what it's like to not want to be alive. And so I was in a very deep depression. You could see it in my childhood photos where I just turned like white and like just like felt more I was like more zombie like from 9 to yeah, it was a pretty long time. It had the playful side of me, but inside I was like, why am I here? I don't want to be alive. And I kind of like committed myself to just being a normal, like figuring out how to be a normal functional human, and was actually obsessed with math and physics and just like doing the most normal thing I could do. And then I it all collapsed. Like everything collapsed. I was in optometry school and working at nights, and it just all collapsed, and I had no way to control it. I had no way to fund this. Like I couldn't pay for school. No matter what I was doing, how hard I was working, it wasn't working. And I actually began reading The Artist's Way. And in the inner child dates in The Artist's Way, I went to a toy store and bought this little doll that reminded me of me when I was like 3. And I literally started asking her questions like, what do you feel like doing? And I literally let that little doll make the big decisions in my life. And so it started with little things like going to the field behind the house and listening to Somewhere Over the Rainbow while blowing bubbles, beginning to work at an arts and crafts store, joining an improv group, doing an acting class. And my whole life kind of switched into bringing back my inner innocence and trusting my innocence that wasn't normal, that wasn't responsible or logical. And it was a long process, even today, to trust that my innocence is wise, that my inner innocence, my inner child, my droplet of pure source energy in its uniqueness is supported, is nourished, is perfect as an imperfect puzzle piece. So I'd say that's when the inner child journey began. These processes have many layers. So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
I
That
it
is
forever.
very cool. I wanna go back to the doll that you purchased.
Yeah.
How old were you when
I
you
was
purchased that doll?
I think I was 23.
That is very cool. I would highly recommend I'm gonna buy a doll. I I'm
Yes.
gonna I'm gonna get myself one. That is a great idea. So, I've done this practice
Uh-huh.
where I often will be like, "Okay, like, inner child, what do we wanna do today? Like, what can I do to help support us to be happy today?" But wow, to have, like, a physical representation of
Yeah.
that, that is genius. Is that
Yeah.
something did you come up was that just an intuitive nudge, or did you get that idea from someone? Like, where did that come from?
Well, do you know the Artist's Way book? The Artist's Way? So
No.
I did so there's a exercise that once a week you go on an inner child date. So you ask your inner child, what do you want to do? And you do it alone and you don't argue with it. Like you just say yes for like an hour or 2 hours. So the inner child date the idea was from the Artist's Way book that I actually only did half of, and it really changed my life. And so this doll, the inner child date was like, my inner child was like, go to a toy store. I'm like, okay. I went to the toy store and I'm like, what do you want to do here? And it was like, get bubbles and get this doll. I'm like, okay. So I just, and then it was like, now take the doll, go to the field, blow the bubbles, and play Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So
Oh,
I let this little doll with this cute hair and these cute eyes just like lead my life for like a year. And I moved a city and I joined an improv performing group all within a year because of this little doll. I started getting into art and it just like I felt like a crazy person because I would talk to this little doll and I would hold her in my pocket. But I was so far out from my soul or innocence. I had no way of knowing what I wanted because I was obsessed with safety and survival and like just doing what I need to do to be normal and work things out as a norm. Like that was my obsession. How can I be normal? And that didn't work for many reasons.
yeah. Yep.
Um, yeah.
What's coming up for me now is I was just communicating with a friend of mine in Messenger, and for me as a mom living single, I don't like to call myself a single mom. I'm done claiming that, like, title. But
Mhm.
I've got 3 kids, and I am doing this in a way that I am their spiritual, financial, physical, the majority of that support for them right now, that, that guide for them. And I was communicating with my friend who was also in a similar situation. And when you get into that space of survival,
Mm-hmm.
where everything you do is so focused on taking care of other people that you literally forget about yourself. You become this zombie
Mm-hmm.
mombi is what I like to call it. I'm not there anymore, but I have been there and I witness a lot of people that are there. And my point is that I remember when I started to feel the call to lean into inner child healing, it was perhaps my biggest resistance. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that it was partly because it was the biggest stretch for me to go from like this efforting adult that is in survival mode, that is being responsible and doing all of the things,
Mm-hmm.
to the innocence of the inner child. It's such a freaking massive leap
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
that. And so I feel people right now overthinking the like conversation with inner child. So I want to talk a little bit about that with your experience in having this conversation with your inner child. Will you talk a little bit about that? Because for me, and it may be different for you, but for me, when I converse with my inner child, it's not like a literal conversation for me. It is a very subtle, intuitive nudge that you just have to trust. And I hear people right now going, well, like, how do I do that? It's such a stretch. How do I do that? And how do I lean into the resistance? So that's a two-part question for you. Let's talk a little bit about why the resistance is there, how we get to lean into it, and kind of what was that process like for you to actually engage with your inner child?
Oh, I love your questions.
Okay. Thank you. It's flowing.
Oh,
It feels really good connecting with you. So this is a
yeah,
beautiful co-creation. Thank you.
thank you. So, I feel there's a lot of resistance around inner child. I didn't decide that I'm going to work with people's like the term annoyed me as well. Like I was literally like, you're an inner child healer. Like literally like people would say that to me or like play like it was kind of like the universe almost it was like there was no it was a choice but it wasn't. Like no matter what I had to come back to this timeline and I love it. And sometimes I hate it. But I feel like there's a lot of resistance around the terms, and I can feel people's resistance when they hear inner child, when they hear play, when they feel innocent, when they hear innocence, and when they hear imagination. And what I feel is because they're us growing up in school, in the system, in the education system, there's a lot of judgment around being imaginative, being playful, and being like a child. Oh, you're such a baby. You're a child. Like these things that we passively hear and watch on social media, witnessing other parents treating their kids like that because the parents are in survival mode. So they're trying to control the kids to keep them safe. And it's like a passed on societal trauma that there's a lot of shame around inner child. It's like this vision that my inner child is wounded and buried down there, and I don't even know how to play. I don't even know what that word means. Like, and play has all these ideas of like silliness and like nonsensical and a waste of time. Like, what are you going to do? Play all day? You're going to be lazy? So there is a lot of, I would call it almost fake trauma because it's society and the education system that has created this distortion with our relationship to how we truly are. Our innocence, our inner child is the speck of us that has never been programmed by any of our experiences. It's the unknown part of us that feels excitement and joy and knows itself. It knows its connection to infinite possibility and to the source that creates all that is. So the inner child in society may seem like the fool or the one that, oh, what are they doing there? Like if I walk down the supermarket and like make a sound and stretch, people will be like, ugh. Like, especially when I go into the city to visit family, I get a lot of like, oh, but I'm learning how to make it more relatable. But so that's why I feel there's a lot of resistance to these terms because there's so much programming that it's bad, that it's shameful, that it's a waste of time, and that if they do that, they're going to die. They won't have money to eat. They won't be able to survive. And for parents, it's like the fear is gazillion times more than what an individual even faces with letting go of those programs. Because it's like you're a mom, like you got people on your shoulders. So working with mothers sometimes it could be like, oh yeah, like I could hear it, like you don't have kids, like you don't, that initial response of, but I have actually had the honor to work with some mothers that somehow decided to trust me and went through massive quantum leaps, like of from being in play no choice land to wow, I have a lot of choices, and inviting their child to be more of their guide, because children see and feel and are very connected to creation. So that's a whole nother topic about parents and children.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Okay. So, this feeling of constriction, the mom thing, going back to the message that I received from my friend is when she is engaging with me, I hear her fear
Mm-hmm.
and I hear her constriction and her inability to access that bigger part of her, which is so connected to inner child. I love the way that you state, that your inner child is that piece of you that's not touched by any programming. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the piece of us that has all of the answers, right? That's the
Yeah.
piece of us that holds the keys to our ability to expand and re-access, remember limitless possibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we came to have fun, right? Girl, we came to have fun. What
Yeah.
this is a effing lie. Like this shit is supposed to be a blast, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a part that comes with a lot of grief, which is why I always
Mm,
say I like carrying, the darkest dark and the brightest bright and holding them together, and then seeing that there's a whole spectrum of colors to play with, because in these states of remembrance, because there's no real healing that happens. There's no answers that come. There's remembrance. That's what
yeah.
it feels like. So when you wake up out of the delusion and you're like, oh my God, I like this week I had it. I was like, I was always this free. Like, because I stepped into deeper remembrance and I was just like, but what about all those years? Like, and I was just like, oh, honey, like, oh, it's like, there's grief there, there's tears, there's sadness that comes up. And these tears turn into joy and sad tears, like at the same time. These tears are kind of like what waters life, what gives more life, what crystallizes the life process. So I really love I love that you're talking about questions also, because you said, how did I start accessing my inner child? Or how can people do that, right?
Mhm.
So, what I love saying is, you don't need time to do this. It's not a project. You don't need to turn your life around. It's literally about creating the most millisecond, subtle moments that feel soothing to you and relieving. That's it. Literally, as much as you can remember, create more of those things that create soothing relief in your body here now. So for me, like literally doing this on my eyes, it brings me back into a state of remembrance. I just create an eye mask for myself and imagine sparkles. I have journals that I just journal. I have colorful pencils that even if I just draw one colorful line, I have bubbles on me all the time. So what I'm saying is, these little things, the more we do them, the more segments of remembrance we have, the easier it is to trust that space that you're cared for, and that you don't have to know, and you can just be in question. And in the question, you could just see the answers. You don't need to find them. So it's not a big project. And people with children actually have, it might be a little to hear, but there's even a deeper gateway into that space with kids, because they're like, I'm ready for you. I'm going to reflect all your shit. I'm going to trigger all of it. And I'm going to, bring you into this like purified state with me. And it could be really hard, but there's also a beautiful gateway with children to do that as parents. So Yeah. I could go on about that forever too.
Yeah, huge. Ooh, the gateway with your children. Wow, I love that. I have 3 kids, and they're
Wow.
3. So one is almost 17, another
What?
another one is 12, 2 girls, and then my 3rd is a boy who is 9.
Ooh.
So, we have an Aquarius is my oldest, a Gemini is my 2nd, and my youngest boy is a Pisces, okay?
Wow.
So, it has been such a magical ride, and full transparency, in the beginning, when I was still married to their father, who is a wonderful person, we were just it's kinda like, you gotta grow or go, and
Mm.
grow is not the choice, and that's okay. We were not ready to grow together at that time. We've been separate now for I said like 6 years. That's a lie. It's been like 4 or 5, officially divorced for like 4 years. It's been like such a quantum leap. I'm like, "Time? Huh? What is it?" And what I noticed in the beginning, if I reflect back on when I was married and not long after the marriage ended, I was in this space of massive resistance with my children. I was still in the old paradigm of like, I was never, like, super harsh on my kids, but I was ruling them, right? Like, it was like they were my children and they will do as I say, and I'm being a little extreme there because 'cause I've always been pretty effing laid back, but that program was there, and I will tell you that when you really start opening up to a co-creation with your children and start engaging with them as if they are your inner child, because they are, because you're the only one in the room, like it's all freaking you. When you start engaging with them as a catalyst to your healing and as like little human beings that really have even more valuable input than your effing ego,
Yep.
so much magic happens. And the dynamic that we're living today, the 4 of us together, is beyond magical because
Oh,
I started, like you said, I started looking at the reflection that my children were giving to me and saying, "Okay, where's the growth here?" Instead of an argument or me just telling them, "You will do it. This is what I say." And actually asking them, "Why are you feeling the way that you're feeling?" Because you're
mm.
reflecting to me a feeling that is buried in my subconscious. Like, our engaging with our children, whether it's inner child or physical children, it's all a remembering, isn't it?
Oh my God. I got so many chills behind my back while you were talking.
Oh,
So
and
beautiful.
I bet you are next level working with mothers. I bet oh my gosh. So freaking cool.
I love it.
Amazing.
I was working with children for many years, and then I decided to focus on adults for a while for the children. So I was like, I need to work with the adults for the kids. The kids are good. The children are good. They know what's up. And
Yeah.
I need to start focusing mostly on adults. But wow, that is absolutely freaking beautiful, love. Like, yeah, what a beautiful see evidence that the thing about children also is like they will not take the younger they're, the less BS they'll take. Like I see your programs and like what you think is real, and like even sometimes when babies have like these screaming attacks, I can just feel how they're screaming for both parents. Like I'm like they're vocalizing, but you're not letting yourself vocalize, you know? And I it's they even like not my looking at children, they won't take anything fake from me. They'll look at me and be like, did you make that joke because you want to like make me laugh? Or like they won't it's they're they it's funny because we think the inner child is wounded, right? Like they're weak, they're wounded, like there's programming around inner children being wounded. They're actually the leaders. They are the leaders, whether they're making your reality be torn apart to pieces and your control devoured by infinite possibility. They know how to lead the way through inspiration, truth, trust, imagination, expression, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Wow. Isn't it so empowering when we stop viewing ourselves as wounded?
mm-hmm.
Bless you. That was a clearing.
Yeah. That's what's so beautiful. I would tune into my inner child and I'd be like, wait, you're not wounded. Like you're here to help me remember and come back to you. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, this is a big shift for people. Like they don't want to tend to their inner child because they're like, I have so much shit to deal with. I've been through so much. I don't have time for that. But the truth is, like, that inner innocence has all the right questions, I'll say, because it's about asking the right questions. It's not about finding the answers. Answers are momentary sparkles that just evaporate into more questions. So, um, I will say, like, when somebody goes back to inner child memories, it's to collect some of their light from those memories, like some soul fragments. But the inner child isn't, from my experience of it, isn't the wounded one that needs healing. It's you that needs remembering, us.
I love that. That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Will you tell us about what does a session look like with you? Do you currently offer private sessions?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, uh, first of all, what is a session called? Is it like a play? I feel like the word play is in it. I feel like I've seen it somewhere. I don't remember what it was called. Like a play session or a quantum play session or what is it?
That's a name for it, maybe. But I call them, so there are two types of sessions, I'll say. Mostly what all sessions, so the first session always begins with, what is your inner child, inner 3-year-old wishing to release? What is it wishing to bring in? And that kind of first thought, best thought vibe. And that sets the intention for the first session. The first session could either be a standalone session, which is like a ceremonial rebirth and clearing and remembrance. It usually begins as like a human dialogue chat, kind of riffing, where I kind of start already feeling intuitive gut feelings through my human personality kind of self. And then we go into a theta brainwave state together. So through guided imagery, we go into theta brainwave state, which is kind of like a death space where we go into the infinite possibility realm and reconnect you with source energy, the energy that creates all that is. And from there, from that kind of death space, um, I just become a channel and a vessel for creation to work through me to clear out any programs and patterns that have been kind of like a distortion that are just really waiting to be acknowledged and cleaned up, like a messy kitchen. And naturally, all the programs and subconscious patterns that can support your mind, that can support your body in feeling safe to embody your soul and innocence start coming through. So a lot of it is done through words and agreement and contracts and activating the imagination. So I feel like a lot of the work with me is focused on heart and pineal gland. So it's like heart and imagination. And every person is completely different. It depends. There's a lot of parental healing and ceremony in that. So that's the first deep dive session, which it's usually like a really, really deep clearing and a deep remembrance. And it, some people say it felt like ayahuasca a lot of the time, or acid, LSD. So it could go really deep, and it's even trippier when you don't take anything and it's just naturally happening. It could be like, what? That can happen just like that. So that's, I would say, the first kind of session. Usually after that deep dive where consciousnesses really see how they alchemize together and crystallize, then there are these follow-up integration sessions where it's like, hey, this has been happening in my external reality, and like there's this other little thing. So, or like, how can I integrate this more easily into this experience of reality? So that's another form of session, and each one is completely different. They're like theatrical practices and play methods, and constant games keep coming through that I'm fascinated by. So it's kind of all whatever is in the present moment arising. And so there's like standalones, and then there's a month of metamorphosis, and then there are also group adventures. So I feel like
That's so cool.
oh,
So cool. I love it. So I will make sure that everyone has access to your socials so that they can contact you if they want to do a session with you. I want to do a session with you. This sounds freaking amazing. So cool. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. let's go back a little bit into your kind of catalyst, the push for you to move into mission. Do you feel aligned to share a little bit about that with us? Like, what was that that kind of spark or that occurrence? If you can narrow it down a little bit for us, just to encourage everyone else to step in mission, because everybody wants to do mission and there's so much fear around actually taking that step and making the big change because it feels so freaking big. Share with us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, there's one particular moment out of all the very many, 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 many moments of initiation into why I'm here. Um, I'll just say one thing about mission. I feel like mission sometimes in our subconscious connects to the word work, which connects to hard, which connects to effort, which connects to seriousness, which connects to responsibility, which connects to burden. Like there are all these words that connect to each other. So like for me, what I've understood is mission is who I am naturally. Like it's who we are naturally. It's just a matter of like trusting that we're perfect in the eyes of creation and that we're enough as we are. It's kind of like coming out of the closet, as you said. That's what it feels like for me to embrace my mission more and more. It's like, can it be easy and natural and fun and effortless and exciting and inspiring? So it's been a process for me to trust that more and more and more. And the more I do, the more it's like, oh, it's already this. But there was one moment where I I think I was like working at a Waldorf school then. I was already did theater and I was working at a Waldorf preschool. And I knew it was like time to leave the country I was in. I was just laying on my cold tiled floor and I was like feeling like I did all the things. I don't know what my mission is. I want to die. Like I was just laying on the floor, no life force in my body. I didn't have energy I literally felt like I was beginning to die. Like that life force was like leaving my body. And I felt like I didn't know what to do. And I was just laying there in this deep, deep depression and desire to die. And I was like asking these questions like, why is it so hard? Like, why do I feel this way? Why is life like this? And I just kept asking these questions that were making me feel worse and worse. And then I came up with this question of like, what if I'm experiencing this so I can help myself and then help others that are experiencing this experience? As soon as I asked that question, it literally felt like I got shot with light, like, and my soul came back into my body. I was like, what? Why did that question like shift like death? I'm dying. I want to die into, ooh, I have energy in my body. This was like an hour or two laying just still on the ground, like not even wanting to create comfort in my body. And then I started playing with like, wait, so what if there are more people that are this depressed and nobody's there to help them in this way? And if I can figure out how to do this and then I'll be able to help them. Oh my God, that feels so exciting. What if I have the tools, what I need to get myself through this? What if I can get guidance? And it was all about being curious, being in a state of wonder. And it happened through curiosity and asking the right questions. That's the
That's
biggest moment.
huge.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And doesn't it boil down to that? Like your deepest pain is your path to your greatest liberation.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
mean,
really, man?
I always felt like I'm like, am I the most depressed, suicidal person in the world? Like that's how I'd feel sometimes. And my motto to my friends, very close friend of mine, was like, I can always kill myself tomorrow. Might as well live today. I play today.
Wow.
I might as well play today. And I would like trust one more day at a time. And it might sound scary and heavy. You know, there's so much societal programming where, oh, she
Yeah.
said that word. And it's a very natural thing for humans. If I can share anything with anybody out there, it's so healing to know that it's okay, that that desire to let go of all that you're used to, I think, is life. That's a very exciting moment. And to know that you don't need to destroy this vessel that's like your video game machine, like you can stay alive and you can rebirth while you're still in your body as you are. So that's how my deepest pain is, that deep depression. That's my cave of wonders.
Mm. I knew asking that question would take us somewhere magical because when I watch you, I feel this beautiful innocence. And I thought, that remembering came from someplace very profound. So
Mm.
thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is so, so beautiful. And it really restores hope in people.
Hmm.
It's like, yes, we're walking around with people surrounding us and we see people on social media that we can kind of identify with, but we still forget that we're not alone
Mm.
oftentimes. We still forget that, like, we're not broken and you're not the only one in the world who you're not like exempt to the law of attraction and to actually doing the remembering work. Like, you will remember. It is inevitable. Every single person that is watching or listening to this, you will remember. And I know I have personal conversations with a lot of people who are chasing the remembering and thinking it's never going to happen for me. It's already done. It's a surrendering. It is a
Yeah,
surrendering, right? And it's all happening for you, even though you feel like it's not happening. That keep doing the things that you're doing to support yourself to expand, because any second it's going to come through at any second.
yeah, and it's not in our control. It's so funny. Like I had this big contraction and then expansion, and I look back, I'm like, what did I do right? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Everything that happened was meant to happen. So that it's all turns into absolute perfection and beauty.
Mm,
So the easier, the sooner we remember, just like hear it, and like get the by hearing each other and creating resonance and honoring our preferences of how we wish to live, we're going to be in this universe where these old issues of societal trauma, like of you need to be this box, it's gonna evaporate because our attention naturally just went somewhere to cultivating a new kind of system.
yeah. Yes. I would love to share a dream with you that I had.
Okay.
It's coming up for whatever reason, so I just
Uh-huh.
want to share it with you and see if anything comes through for you around it. I know something will. I recently had a dream. It was maybe a month ago. It's 1:44 my time too, which is pretty cool. Love it. So, I had this dream where I was with my mom driving in a van. I don't know whose van it was. I don't know where I was going, but we were driving, and I remember looking over and seeing this big hole in the ground. And the hole, I had a knowing in my consciousness that it was the reservoir that I live on now. And so I remember going, oh, they're digging the reservoir. So we're driving along, and we kind of go over this hill. And I didn't realize that over the hill on the other side was like the depths of this reservoir. And it was black and it was deep and it was dark. And we come over the hill and I'm like, oh shit, we're going in and I can't stop us. And so we go in and we're facing straight down, going down into this endless, like deep, dark abyss. And in this dream, I remember feeling so afraid and being like, oh my God, this is it. Like, we're going down. And I just kept thinking, oh my God, is this shit ever going to end? And then finally, you know what I said in my dream? This is terrifying. Would you just die already? And then boom, I woke up. And when I woke up, the first thing I heard in my mind was like ego death, which I don't really believe that the ego ever dies. Like, if we resist it, it persists. Like, it's all part of us, all important. But I don't know why that came up, but I just thought that was a really like wild effing dream. Like, what?
Yeah, that's pretty spot on. Thank you for sharing that. I feel all my cells in my body like vibrating. That's
I
what
love
it
it.
feels. That's exactly what it feels like, and that's what I'm talking about. Like like that. It's a lie. Like that we're not that free to let go, or it's like a it's funny because like there's nothing to control the freedom, the shadow of freedom is death. That's the words coming through. Like the ultimate freedom, it feels initially like the greatest death. Or it's like I've had many moments where I'm like, am I dead already? Like that. And then it will cut it as my fantasy is to have like these death centers for people that just want to go and let go of their reality while being nourished with their body. Because to me, these letting go, it's just such a beautiful dream what you had. I'm kind of bouncing around, but with your mom and letting go into the ravine, it's like the cave of wonders. That's what I'll call it. It's the cave of wonders. It's like the divine feminine energy, the womb space, the womb of creation, the infinite possibility where everything exists, and it just is this void. And I feel like it's a sacred time when a person feels like, oh, I want to go. It's like, okay, like let's exit from your video game, from your reality, and let's go inward. Let's treat this as a sacred time. Oh, you feel grief, you feel anger, you feel sadness, you feel hard to control. Like these spaces are such beautiful experiences to be in a way. You were like flying when you were falling. You're like, just this is so horrifying, can we just die? It's very interesting because it's kind of also like you hopped from one timeline to another.
Yeah, it was wild. It was really wild. Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
that perspective. It just came up, so I thought I would share.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what I would like to do, if this feels good for you, is I would like to share with you the gift.
I'm
Are you
scared.
ready for the gift? It's
Oh,
gonna be so amazing. Okay, so this is what this is what I do for all of my guests to honor them and just to show an immense amount of gratitude for taking the time to share space with us. So, I found a meditation. I actually did 2 of your meditations, and I'm
really?
gonna drop yes, I went to your YouTube channel, and I just dropped a couple of links for everyone. I trust that they work. If they don't work, reach out to me wherever you are, if you're listening or watching, I'll get you the links. So I went and I did a meditation that you had created actually 3 years ago, and it was something about going into your heart with your inner child. So
Oh,
cool. And then I also did the meditation that you posted. I think you posted it today or
I posted
yesterday.
am.
Okay. Yeah, it lovely meditation. Absolutely amazing. So I'm encouraging everyone to go to your YouTube channel, which is Quantum Play Academy, and do the most recent meditation that Leela posted. It is amazing. Such a beautiful experience.
Oh,
So I took a little petri dish of water and I wrote your name on the petri dish, and I held the petri dish close to my heart as I did your 2 meditations, and just set the intention to connect with you, the frequency of your work, your offering to this world, and asked that that frequency would come through the water as kind of like your unique frequency, through water, through Monica Painter. I'm trying to describe this adequately, and I'm like
oh,
fumbling all the you get me though, right? You get what I'm saying.
you make a
So
lot of
no sense and all the sense all at the same time, right? Okay, so I'm going to screen share so that you can see this, and we'll zoom in on it and have a little conversation about it and see what you
sense.
see. And then I'll send these pictures to you afterwards. If you are listening to this on an Audible platform, I will encourage you to go to my YouTube channel, which is Monica Painter, and we're at about the 49-minute mark, and you can see the picture. So let me screen share here. And I took multiple photos. Okay, can you see that?
Not yet. Oh my God, this is so exciting.
Okay,
Oh,
you can't see the screen?
now I see it.
Okay. Okay, now I don't usually show this view because I don't ever have this. Now, do you recognize that it's a petri dish? And
Uh-huh.
on the bottom, do you see that there is a protrusion from the
Yeah.
water? Now, I'm going to tell you the first thing I thought of. This is not what I've never experienced the water rising out like this to this degree. And the first thing I thought of was Hawaii and a
Re-
volcano when I saw this. So I'm just putting that out there.
Okay, that's coming up a lot.
Okay. So let me scroll and we're going to go through these pictures and I want to see what you see came through in the water. Hold on. Let me get a better one. This is the one.
Oh, that's so
Now,
weird.
isn't that wild? Now, do you see? So this is what's rising out of the water.
It's rising, it's not a ditch?
It's not a ditch. It's what you saw in the very beginning that was poking up out of the petri dish. So
What?
just kind of check it out. Just feel into it for a second. Like, what do you see? What do you feel when you look at this image?
Well, I definitely feel a lot of things. I'm thinking of
What
my
about
well, when
you?
I'm looking at it, I'm also it's for me, it's like on the reflecting my left side of my heart.
Hmm.
I had like some fear come up when I saw it, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, like feelings of fear and then some tears, but I don't understand why. Um, I actually have had a really many years of pain in my left chest area, like this whole area. And like when I was born, they said I had a hole in my heart, and like I've just been in for years, but actually, I just recently went through a breakup, like an intense breakup 2 weeks ago, and the pain went away.
Wow.
I mean, it went away before, like, but now it just feels like it's totally gone. It doesn't feel like my left side of my heart is hurting anymore. So that's what
Very.
when I saw it, I I don't know, like that's what came up for me. So it's like oh, some fear and then excitement and
That is really interesting. So, I have a question for you around do you have experiences with Hawaii?
oh my
Have you
god, that's
been?
it up so much. I literally said this week it's time to go to Hawaii.
Mm.
Yeah, I've been to Hawaii with my family, but it was like a family in the name of my sister who passed. So it was like family time more than Hawaii time because we have a big family. So it was beautiful. So we were there for like a week, I think. So I'm actually maybe gonna go in February.
That's amazing. Okay, so here's your nudge. That is very beautiful. That is just the first hit I got when I well, first of all, I picked it up and I was like, "What is this?" Like, it has risen from the water. Like, what is going on here? That is really magical. I was just I mean, I'm not shocked. You're so unique and playful and magical. You would make the water rise, rise from above the surface. So freaking cool. So now I feel called to share something else with you when you talk about your heart. My daughter was born with a hole in her diaphragm.
Really?
She's 17, perfectly healthy now. She was born with a hole in her diaphragm. They gave her a 50-50 chance to live. She was diagnosed in utero when she was like 18. I was about 18 weeks pregnant. Now, I'm sharing this with you because, oh no, I lost her. Okay, you're back.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
You
So
got
some
now you're back.
okay.
Okay.
We good? Okay.
Yeah.
That was interesting. So, I'm sharing this with you because before I got pregnant with her, let's see, April, May, June, July, August, about 8 months before I got pregnant with her, I went to Hawaii for the first time, well, and the only time thus far. I'm gonna go back now after this. But what I realized in looking back is that I was actually anchoring light in my womb space in order to carry her because she has like her genes are unique. She's a very powerful little woman. And for whatever reason, when you started sharing about this possible anomaly with your heart, like Sophia came in. And so there's something here around like Lemurian timelines, that Hawaii connection and divine feminine womb activation. That's what's coming through for me. So
Oh my
putting it out there, just putting it out
god.
there.
Wait, is your daughter, when was she born?
January 25th,
Okay. So she's
Aquarius.
yes. Wow. Um
Yeah,
that was an amazing, amazing gift. There's so much synchronicity in what you just shared that and the light went out while you were
I love it. That's cool. That is cool. That's the magic that we came to co-create together. Like, this is fun. I love this.
yeah, this is all very, 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 very synchronistic beyond I
So,
can
do you
describe. And
care to share a little bit of what do you mean?
well, okay, the whole water theme. So the space that I'm in right now was kind of passed on to me by this kind of mentor that was working with me. And while he passed this space to me, this like play office area, he said, remember, work with the water. It will be time for you to go to Hawaii, like soon after this.
I got
And
chills.
so when I came into this office, I got many gifts about the water, which is this, my friend Marav Levy, Light Scratch. She made this and gifted it to me for my birthday, which is like a water purifier. And the same week, another friend gifted me these, which is when you say thank you to water, but you know, the Emoto thing.
Mhm.
So this is the vibration of water. Thank you. And then the whole um, water and Hawaii, like Hawaii's come up a few times this week. And then your daughter's name, Sophia. And also, I feel a soul, like my womb is the energy in my womb is, I've never ever felt this level of energy moving in my womb space. It feels like a volcano and it's driving me insane. So I know I need to do deep womb work. And, and it's kind of crazy, but I feel like I'm being prepared for a child, like to birth. It felt like I was ending this past relation. And it's scary to say, but it's very scary to say. I'm not attached to it, but I feel this like soul with a soul contract being like, okay, like, and my grandmother's name is Sophie, which is kind of from Sophia. So, and there's so many synchronicities because in this space, I was gifted my grandmother's saris from Bombay, who had a Montessori school for, anyway, it's just endless. So
Wow.
it's
That's
all
so cool.
magical. Did that make any sense? I really
Yes,
made sense.
it did. That's very cool. Wow, this is so fun. Thank
Yeah.
you so, so
Thank
much
you.
for spending this time with me. I adore you. I feel such a deep resonance with you. Like you feel like a soul sister. Like this is not our first time
Yeah.
connecting is how I feel.
Yeah.
So thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And I do want to just acknowledge the lovely comments over here. Someone is saying thank you for the divine alignment. So grateful I caught you live. And what else? Hawaii
Oh,
has been a conversation of mine today. So someone else has Hawaii in their field too. Let's all go together. And then
okay.
someone also says, my favorite memory of Hawaii is grounding in the Pacific Ocean.
Mm.
So, so beautiful. Okay. So I will make sure that everyone has access to all of their links. Before we go, is there anything that you would like to leave us with? A final message? Um, anything? What would you like to say to close us out, beautiful Leela Rose?
Oh, well, I don't know. I maybe just if everybody would like to close their eyes, mm, and just bringing all the attention to your heartbeat, feeling how it's pulsing blood through your whole body. Just bringing attention to that, feeling how it's like this medicine drum that's allowing your soul to dance in your cellular structure. And just noticing that that's your rhythm. That is your rhythm that is naturally in harmony with all hearts. And feel that connection to earth, that gravity that we think of as pulling us down or weighing us down. Play with what if that is fueling you and igniting you and beating with your heart. Every time your heart beats, this earth is nourishing you. So just playing with that perspective can really shift our internal space and then echo out into the water that's all around us. So just blinking our eyes open like baby butterfly wings, like we're ready for a surprise. Opening our eyelids, being ready to be surprised by what's possible in this malleable, watery dimension. Thank you, love.
Beautiful. Oh,
Thank
thank you so much.
you,
Have a
lovely.
wonderful day, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you for watching. And we'll be back next week. And I'll make sure you have access to all of Leela's beautiful links. Bye
Thank
bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye, loves.